Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have Julie Bowditch, and she is the Executive Director of the Casa project, Worcester County. Welcome, Julie. I read about you. Was it one of the lobbies, one of the local newspapers had it? What was it? Which one?
I think it was a Worcester Business Journal.
Okay, because I get that they give that was it every week or every 2 weeks I get that in the mail. That's a fantastic, it's great to get the word out about each company.
It is. It's a great resource.
Julie, how did you come to be the executive director there? How'd you get into it?
So, it's a non-linear story, as many are.
Yeah.
I started as the executive director there in March of this year, but I was previously on our board. So when we found that we were, looking for a new executive director, one thing kind of led to another, and I became a candidate. We did a national search, and we had some, a lovely search firm that helped us out, and it turned out that I ended up in the role. So very excited, but I was familiar with the mission because I was on the board, and even before that, the work was important to me. I come from a family where all of my siblings were adopted and many from foster care. And so the mission really has always been sort of ingrained, I guess, in my life and my upbringing. And so it was not a hard sell.
Were you like an only child as an adopted child?
I'm the only biological child, but I'm on the older side of my siblings, so I was never an only child.
Yeah, okay,
And we had all of my siblings were adopted through the years, but we always had lots of foster kids living with us as well. So my parents fostered for over 30 years.
It's a full house.
Always.
I don't know if I could have taken it. I'm always happy to visit people, but boy, I'm glad when I, say, okay, well, it's time to rest. Time to just go off by myself. Now, the Casa project fascinates me. What do the letters stand for?
Thank you for asking. The letters stand for Court Appointed Special Advocates, CASA. Often, even just yesterday, I got a phone call. We get confused with some sort of a housing, organization or something. And while we do deal with permanency and, sort of that type of thing around children who are in foster care, we don't provide housing. It's not part of our mission specifically, but of course it's confusing, especially if you do a Google search. So
it's been a long time,
special
right?
advocate.
Hasn't it been?
You're right. Yes, we're in our 41st year. Yes, as an organization, we were founded in '81, and so we've just been growing ever since.
Do you really enjoy it? I can tell.
I do.
You do.
I do. I love it. I feel like I've somehow broken the system or something. Like, is it possible to wake up every day and do something that you just love doing and that you would want to do, even if it wasn't your job? And so I feel very fortunate, and I have a very remarkable team that I work with. We're a small group internally on the staff, but we have over 270 active volunteers right now as well.
That's a lot. And what do the volunteers do?
So the volunteers are actually our advocates. So that second A in Casa, court-appointed special advocates, those are all volunteers. So we train them, we screen them, and they're really the kind of like the boots on the ground, if you will. They're the ones who are advocating for the children on our cases. So when we receive a referral through the juvenile courts in Worcester County, there's five courts in the county. We then will match that case up with a volunteer who, like I said, we've gone through training and screening, and we've taken sort of like their preferences and their geography into account, and we really try to make a really appropriate match from there. And sometimes it's one child, sometimes it's siblings, sometimes they're in a variety of placements all throughout the county, sometimes even outside of the county, throughout the time that their case is open.
Does Casa mean home in in Spanish?
It does.
That's why I thought it was, I had no idea. I thought it was basically a Spanish organization, just for the Spanish folks.
Very, very common misconception, which is another reason why we're grateful to be able to talk about it.
The Casa Project, Worcester County. This is Julie Bowditch, and she is the executive director. Did I ask, when did you become the executive director?
It was in March of this year.
March, okay, so it hasn't been too long.
No. Not great.
You had been on the board before that.
For a couple of years prior, I was in the board. And so, like I said, it was just sort of one of those community organizations that I've always been very interested in their work and has been very personal to me.
Did you volunteer at all at first?
I did. I was never an advocate for us, but I was our chairperson for our fundraising organizations. Fundraising is really the thing that I enjoy the most and my background. And so I used to chair, as a volunteer, our golf tournament and an event called Champions for Children celebration that we have coming up actually again this year.
Oh,
and
when is that coming out?
That is on September 8th. It's a Thursday, so it won't cut into anyone's weekend plans and it won't cut into your Labor Day plans. It's a Thursday evening, September 8th, and that is at the new Off the Rails music venue. It's attached to the Off the Rails restaurant on Commercial Street in Worcester. It's located kind of between the DCU Center and the Palladium. And we're very excited. It just opened a couple months ago. They've had a lot of concerts in there and so forth scheduled, but we're excited to have our event there. It's not a concert, although we will have live music, but we're very excited to be in that space.
So that's a fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser.
So
it's our
now what's the
event.
process if somebody's watching and they want to get in and attend this fundraiser? What do they do? Who do they contact?
Yeah, that's a great question. So they could contact me. Really anyone on my team. We have a wonderful volunteer chairwoman who's also a board member and a former volunteer advocate of ours. Her name is Liz Estabrooks, and she's been doing a phenomenal job of putting this event together for us. We have sponsorship opportunities, although the window is closing, but we still have some opportunity there for sponsors, and we have a few tickets still on sale, although they're selling out quickly and we're anticipating being on a wait list.
How much are they?
They are $100 a ticket, and that will get you into the venue, and of course live music. We have a couple of local performers, and we also have a multicultural selection of food for dinner that
That's
evening.
what I was wondering. How's the food? All different cultures?
All different cultures, all different local restaurateurs, food truck owners, pop-up owners, all sorts of different cuisine, and we're super excited. We did this event last live in 2020, early in the year,
just
because
before
of course
that happens. Oh, gee.
You're right. We were actually early in March of 2020, so we just under the wire. We got this event in before we had any inkling that the world is going to turn completely upside down. So we were very grateful to get that in, but we haven't been able to do it live since.
You didn't do it in 2021.
We did a virtual version, but of course it's not quite the same.
No.
So we were grateful that we were able to do something, but this will really be a huge comeback year for us. We're grateful. We have some amazing sponsors for the event, and
who are some of the sponsors?
So our lead sponsors right now are Hanover Insurance Group and Plum House, and those are new sponsors, new partners for us at Casa, and they've come in at a leading level. We're very grateful for them, and really, our sponsors are the lifeblood of an event like this. They're the reason that we're able to raise a lot of money. The other thing that I wanted to mention too, relative to the event, even if you're not able to join us, we hope you can, on September 8th, we also will have an online auction. So even folks who might be, otherwise obligated or geography, might restrict them from attending, we'll be posting and sending around a link for an online auction.
That's great.
Yes, and we have some very exciting packages in there as well.
We're talking with Julie Bowditch. She's the executive director of the Casa Project, Worcester County. Julie, how can they get a hold of you?
So I can be reached at jbowditch@thecasaproject.org. It's also our website, thecasaproject.org, and my phone number is 978-235-2345, and I'm always interested and excited to talk to folks who want to learn more about Casa.
2 questions. One, is it just to place adults in foster home, or just kids in foster home, or does it also help adults?
I'm so glad you asked. That's a really common question. We help children from newborns all the way to 17 years old. So we do have a large amount of teenagers, middle school maybe age. We're thinking about back to school right now. And we're just wrapping up a backpack drive that we do annually, and we had hundreds of generous donors who made that possible. And just before I came to you, I was meeting with some of our volunteer advocates who were picking up backpacks and school supplies for the kids on their cases, anywhere from preschool all the way through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're very grateful for our donors and our volunteers for facilitating that.
I don't know, probably most of them are donations. I'm thinking, Salvation Army thrift shops, other thrift shops. I mean, if you have the funds and you needed some extras, just stop over there.
Absolutely. We've had some great partners, and again, Hanover Insurance once again was a great partner. They did a drive right in their offices, and we had individuals and organizations throughout the whole county and beyond.
That's fantastic.
It's been really pretty special.
Hanover is huge. When I drive by that in Lincoln Street in Worcester, I'm like, it seems in the back. I just thought it was at first, building. No, it's got like a back too.
And it's a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
Yes, there's such great community partners. They're clearly invested in the community. They care very much about giving back and engaging their employees, and it really shows.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see the Memorial Campus and the Hanneman Campus of UMass come together. Take over that Hanover building. It's perfect, right there. Perfect, and have Hanover maybe go into one of theirs. I mean, really. I mean, what's fair here? But look at the location. I mean, it's right near the highway,
great.
And then you'd be combining instead of 3 campuses for UMass, you only have 2.
It's true.
There. That would be cool.
I know, it's true. UMass is everywhere, right? And and I have a history with UMass as well.
Yes.
I worked there for many years for UMass Chan Medical School, and had a wonderful experience there in their development office, doing some fundraising for the foundation. But UMass has also been a great partner of Casa.
I was going to say, I thought they were.
They are. So there's a FACES clinic over there. It's called FACES, FACES. And Dr. Heather Forkey, she runs that. Yeah. She's a wonderful, wonderful partner of ours. We're very grateful for her. Her team has been wonderful. And they also support, in a clinical way, of course, foster kids as well. So we have a lot of overlap in the youth we're serving. Mm-hmm. They've been wonderful, as well as UMass Memorial Medical Center is also a sponsor of the upcoming event.
Oh, okay, good.
They are. They're
good.
Wonderful.
They have a wonderful, we've had them on here for the Child Life Center in the children's unit of UMass, the children's whole, clinic?
Yeah, Children's Medical Center, yes.
And they were on, they were the Child Life Specialists, and he's left now. We had the previous one on, and then the newer young lady that was on. I remember my own son was 12 or 13, and they'd admitted him overnight. He had the flu, I think. And the one that came in, I knew him. He even showed up for my surgery. He was a nice guy. He came in, and I guess he asked my son, was there anything you'd like to have? Because he was used to giving the kids toys. My son said, nah, it's okay. I'm fine. But I was like, what a great thing. They're
so kind. They're angels. I don't know if you spoke with Kendra, their child life manager now. Her name is Kendra. And talk about a small world. Kendra just stopped by our office last week to bring a bunch of backpacks to us and supplies.
She got donations.
She's lovely. Yeah, she's lovely. So I worked with her at UMass.
Yeah.
And now I'm fortunate enough to stay connected with her, and she was another generous donor.
There are so many beautiful backpacks out there that just, I don't need it anymore type of thing, or maybe the kid didn't like it, they don't bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do they donate?
So there's a bunch of different ways you can donate. We had a link with an Amazon wish list, of course, for a while, but now that we're getting, hard to believe, back to school time is almost upon us, we've shut that down, but we're still accepting monetary donations, or if folks do have done a collection of some sort, they can send me an email, jbowditch@thecasaproject.org, and we can set up a time to connect to grab those donations.
Where are you located?
We are located at 100 Grove Street.
Okay, the Grove Street in the North Works building?
It's the old North Works building there, so we're kind of like next door to the Fix. There's a new Fuel America in our building, which is dangerously amazing.
I was just telling her that I remember going in there and I took one look at that. Was it a freight elevator?
We do have an old elevator in the building.
I will not get on it. Absolutely.
I don't blame you. We're on the 4th floor, so it's good exercise if you're not into the elevator.
Was it over at UMass, the one off of Lincoln? Not Lincoln, one of the streets. And it was like 6 floors up. I walked all the way up and then all the way down. I could tell that particular, it was an old building, and I could see that the elevator was, and it had problems. I had asked. I'm like, no.
Oh, goodness.
I even got to the point where I was bringing a horn with me Because if I got stuck in any of the elevators, a lot of old buildings around here, I'm like,
There are a lot of old buildings, and it is beautiful. It's beautifully maintained. We have a wonderful building manager and owner who's been lovely to us. But I agree, it is, it's one of the risks of an older building. But I should add too that we're still working partially remotely.
Yeah.
So if anyone does want to stop by for any reason with a donation or anything like that, that they should get in touch with us ahead of time. Just to make sure that someone would be there to greet them and to help them out.
That makes sense. Is there anything else? There must be tons of stuff besides backpacks that you could use that they could maybe help you with.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be doing, very similarly, a holiday drive in the coming months. So while it's still a beautiful day out, we're thinking ahead to the holidays, and that can be, just like back to school time, an extra stressful time for kids who are displaced and, are still seeking permanence. So we are going to be opening that up this fall, and we'll be sure to share all of the details, but there'll be lots of opportunity to partner there as well. In general, we're only able to function and to really uphold our mission through the generosity of our community.
Yeah.
So whether it be a corporate sponsor like we were talking about, or there's lots of wonderful foundations and grant funders. We also are very grateful to our legislators locally, because without them we wouldn't receive some very vital state funding that we count on to be able to really operate. But also individual donations is really how we operate, how we're able to provide this programming to the youth we serve. And, I think it's also worth mentioning, some people think Worcester, okay, well, there's lots going on in Worcester, of course, and it's wonderful, and we're very grateful to be there. But besides where our office is located in Worcester, we serve the whole county.
Yeah.
So we serve all the way up to the New Hampshire border, all the way down to the Rhode Island border, everything in between.
I didn't know that. That is fantastic.
Yeah, there's over 70 towns and cities in the county. It's true. And we have five juvenile courts throughout the county, and 5 wonderful justices that are, our first justice is also amazing, but altogether 5, hopefully soon to be 6.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful allies and partners of our work. We frankly, we couldn't do anything without them.
Yeah.
So we depend on them for referrals, and they send us the cases that they believe really just need an advocate and need an extra set of eyes and ears, and somebody to really just be out there looking out for the child's best interest in terms of permanency and the outcome of their case in court.
Would you say that in winter you're also looking for some really cool really warm winter coats?
We do need coats. That's another thing that we're often asked for. It's sort of a evolving situation, because any given child on any given day, just like maybe your own children or nieces and nephews or grandchildren or whoever out there might have children in their life or youth in their life, every day it's sort of a new adventure.
Yeah.
And so we try to be able to react to that, and again, that's another reason why donations are so important, because we can be prepared to, some of these kids, they're living in group homes and residential placements. A lot of them live with family members or other kinship placements or foster families, of course, but resources are tough, so.
Yeah, even the list, I remember when my son was growing up, every summer you get this list. It seemed to grow longer and longer. We weren't the richest family on the block, and I remember thinking, I learned to go through it and say, no, they don't need this. Oh, they don't need that. They had tons of Kleenex, and they had all these things. So I was able to help my neighbors too. I said, scroll it down, ease it up. You can always do it later if you really do need it. So it brought down the price, because I've seen families go, what? I mean, who have nothing.
It's true.
And even something as simple as pencils and erasers and crayons.
Well, and kids are losing something every other day, right? So
yeah,
it adds up, and they're outgrowing things, if it's clothes and shoes and so forth. So, I'm sure it's not easy, and particularly if you have multiple kids, and so we definitely try to sort of supplement. Our mission, of course, is primarily the advocacy within the courts and finding that safe, permanent placement, along with alongside the judges and the other folks that are in the child's life, the caseworkers and social workers. But these are important things. These are things that will change their experience while they are in transition. So
and it won't embarrass them not to have these things. I can't think of the name of the house. Mr. Galvin has been the head of it for a long time. What is that? It helps not the happy house. It's something
A friendly
awful.
house?
Friendly house.
Friendly House. They have a new executive director as well.
They do? Mr.
Yes.
Galvin's not there?
So he's there.
Yeah.
He's still involved, very
Yeah.
involved. But Trish Alpert is the new executive director. She's a friend and a wonderful ally as well. And you're right. You know, again, this is a group of folks who, you know, just every little bit helps. And I'm glad you mentioned them. They do great work right in our community as well.
Yeah, you know, it's good that you guys have, like, connections. Because, see, if I can't help this way, maybe they can help over here.
Oh, we're so grateful. We have partners throughout the whole community, and we hope that we're also, you know, partners for them. But you know, anything from a formula shortage that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Food insecurity, you know, is a huge thing, and we're very grateful to have partners throughout the whole community who we can call and say, you know, we have a family who's really looking for this specific thing, or you know, they need something, and they always answer the call. I am very biased, and I'll be the first to say it, but we do have the most special community, and really folks who, they just want to know how they can help, and they really show up. They do, and everything from organizations and their leaders down to, you know, your neighbors and your friends, and you know, they really recognize that when we come together, we can make a big difference.
Somebody wants to be an advocate. What is the method of the progress that they have to go through in order to qualify?
Yes. So we just graduated a class of trainees, new volunteer advocates. We're very excited. And we're going to have another training coming up at the end of October. So we do those virtually these days. We break them up into segments so they're hopefully a little bit more digestible, because it is a 30-hour training. It's pretty intense, hopefully very informative for folks, and hopefully they feel prepared when they graduate. They get sworn in by the courts, and they are then, you know, an extension really of the judicial court system. So part of that, we have other sort of veteran volunteers come in and speak. We have various staff members come in, board members on occasion will come in as well and share their expertise, their experiences. We have a whole curriculum that we follow. It's a national organization, Casa, so we really base our curriculum on some of the national standards, of course, but we are one of 6 programs within the state.
That's amazing. When these people are, let's say I went in there and I wanted to do the volunteer thing. It's not in person right now, it's on Zoom. Now, once you graduate, you get your certificate. Do you have a mentor at least with you? They don't just throw you in with a family, do they?
Yes, that's very important. So you're absolutely right. We don't throw them to, you know, out there to figure it out on their own. We have on staffs these wonderful program supervisors. They're called advocate supervisors, case supervisors, and they support our volunteers. So any individual case supervisor might have, you know, between 30 and 40 cases. It's a large number, right? But a volunteer really should only have one at a time.
Yeah, right.
So you can see where, you know, those staff members are there to really support the volunteers based on how we assign them to cases. Then that will be their support throughout the duration of that case, you know, months, sometimes years long. But yes, we do, and we try to make sure that our throughout the year we have in-service trainings, what we call them Ask Casa. We have them monthly, and those are really available to the community, but they're intended really for our volunteer advocates to be able to continue their training, and there might be a topic that's really relevant to, you know, one of the children on their case at the time, or something that they've been looking to learn more about. We're always looking for folks who have diverse backgrounds, whether that might be you have speak another language, you're willing to help us interpret. That's always a challenge. We have a very diverse community, and that's also, you know, there's also children on our cases who are LGBTQIA plus, and so having some background in that also can be a huge asset in terms of our volunteers. But really, we're looking for folks with all different backgrounds, experiences, perspectives. You don't have to be retired to do it. You can be. And that sometimes is a great fit. But if you're over 21 and you want to help out, we're going to do our best to make it work.
Okay, so you match up people, let's say it was a, I don't know, Spanish family, Indian family, and they needed the help. You want to advocate for the child there. So there's enough volunteers that you could match people up?
In a perfect world, that is the case. Although it's not always as clean as it sounds, you know. Of course, if there's a language barrier, we want to try to take that into account. There's lots of different folks in children's lives, right, through this process. So aside from biological families and parents, there's also, of course, foster parents or other caregivers. There's teachers, educators. There are clinicians, therapists. There are caseworkers, attorneys, social workers, lots and lots of folks. So really what our advocates are doing are trying to talk to as many of those people as they can and really get a snapshot of what's going on from different perspectives. So that's really important, and then hopefully you get to the root of what is really best for this child permanently, long term, in terms of the outcome. So really when it comes to volunteers, we're always looking for more volunteers because the more we have to pull from, the more likely we can really make a great match. And it's not just based on, culture and also language, it's also based on geography because you might have a case up in Gardner or Westminster, but you also might have a case, here in Upton or Oxford or Charlton or Dudley. So again, a large county, right? So it's important that we also are, gas prices being what they are.
Yes.
We try to be extra sensitive to
I'm thinking
geography.
of the advocates. Let's say if they lived out here in Upton and they were assigned up in Gardner with no gas money, that's going to be very tricky business.
It's a hike, and we really expect our volunteers to have a visit with, the child or children, if it's siblings on their case, at least once every 30 days at minimum, and they're all wonderful about doing that. But again, you are talking about a pretty significant commitment, so we do try to take that into account. Of course, placements can change during the course of a case, but we really do try to be respectful of geography. So again, the more of a pool of volunteers we have, and the more diverse they are from all sorts of different ways, geography, demographics, cultures, backgrounds, religions, perspectives, experiences, then, the better the experience it's going to be for everyone involved.
Julie, tell us one more time how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, you can reach me at jbowditch@thecasaproject.org, or you can go to our website at thecasaproject.org.
Terrific. I'm going to have to back on again because they're looking for volunteers, and sounds like a pretty rewarding experience. Do you have like a little ceremony at the end of each year for volunteers, like how many years they've been there?
We celebrate monthly. Any anniversaries, 1 year, all the way up to some people have been with us for decades, if you can believe it. They're just angels. But we also have a volunteer appreciation event on September 23rd at Polar Park.
That's important.
It's important.
It really is. When I was on, I forgot when I was volunteering at UMass, there was something it was a thing to celebrate the volunteers. I remember that very well. Thank you, Julie. We got to go now, but thank you so much. Julie Bowditch. She is the Executive Director of the Casa Project, Worcester County, and she's been a great guest. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jan.
We'll see you next time and be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.